Hello and welcome. My name is Peter de Villiers. In today's video, I'd like to show you our little garage-based self-built chocolate factory. In this factory, we've got the ability to process or make chocolate right from the cocoa bean all the way through to the final product. And that goes for nuts as well, being able to roast and then grind, refine, and conch, and also temper and deposit. I first converted this garage into a chocolate factory in 2009 and built most of these machines at that time. It took me approximately a year to build it, and we ran it for a further 3 years in this garage before we had to move out. But after we moved out here, this was converted back to a normal garage. And it stayed that for several years. So when I decided to make the chocolate 6 months ago, the decision came to reconvert this into a chocolate factory again, and then also bring back the old machines, fix them up, and get them going again. This is my two roasters. They're both Whirlpool roasters, which I bought in 2010, and they're wide oven roasters. And I converted those into the one I specifically use at the moment. This one is here I use for cocoa beans. If you look on the side of it there, the motor, this comes from a refurbished, or this is an old washing machine motor that I use. And then another one was fortunate, I bought a motor for that when I built it at the time. Both of these are operated by a computerized system, so I start and stop the roasters as well as monitor temperatures and control temperatures via a computerized system, and you can see some of that on that screen display. Next, what I'll do is to show you, I'll open the first roaster, which is the one I use mainly for coffee beans. Okay, I've got a little shelf screen that I use there because if I open the door to cool it, and at times when that happens, the shaft messes all over the factory. So this first is the shaft collector, the screen. So I'll take that off so we can see that. And now I'll go onto the screen, and I will just to demonstrate this, I will show you how just start the drum remotely from the computer system. Okay, so there's the drum I just started, and there's the drum running in it now. Next is my winnower. Obviously, after roasting the cocoa beans, the husk needs to be separated from the nib, and the winnower is typically used to do that. This winnower typically consists of two parts. The first one is a little brewer's mill, home brewer's mill. That's used to crack the cocoa bean, and after cracking, the pieces of husk and nib falls through this chute. And then what I've got, if you look at the pipe going back there, that's connected via a cyclone, and then the cyclone is connected to the vacuum cleaner. So the vacuum cleaner creates a suction, a draft in this pipe, and at that point where they separate, where the T-junction is, typically what happens is the husk is sucked up into this bin on the side here, and the nibs fall through into the bottom, at the bottom. This machine I rebuilt completely, or I built a new machine this time, and I'm still going to test this, so we're still not sure how efficient it operates. Next is my three chocolate melangers that we built ourselves. When we started making chocolate, these melangers wasn't as freely available as they are today. But in hindsight, this gives us a special, unique flavor. I've experimented with making chocolate in different conches, from 40 kilogram lab conches up to a ton conch in various configurations, and there's none of those conches that make chocolate both from a texture and flavor perspective as these ones do. So essentially what they consist of is there's washing machine drums, which you see on the side, and then I've got a 40 or 50 litre pot that's inside that. Then inside the pot, if you take a closer look at that, we've got two granite wheels, and the granite wheels rotate on a granite base. This particular one, it was quite worn through extensive use, so I've just refurbished it and reground the granite, so you can see there's a little bit of a light or whitish greyish hint on it. The other two machines will test in the process, but that still seems fine to me. These were used extensively. So these machines essentially has been running since 2010, and they've made lots of chocolate, and I'm really so happy that I managed to keep these three machines. So typically I can use them for any chocolate, for nut butters. I can conch and refine from 2 days up to 5 days if I wish. I used to be able to control temperature through a water jacket, but I disconnected that as it wasn't necessary. What I do now to control the temperature in these machines is I just vary the speed. The next machine is my pride and joy. We took considerable time to configure and build this machine. This machine is a chocolate tempering machine, but then automatically you can adjust your depositing volumes, and it then deposits it onto a little production line here. It allows you to do chocolate fairly quickly. You know, we typically, from a small scale perspective, can do roughly about 50 kilograms in a half a day. Not that I'll be using those extensively. I think to start with, most of our products will be smaller volumes than that. But it took me a long time with the engineering company at the time, to be able to design this one and come up with this configuration. Okay, this tempering machine has also got a little human machine interface, or HMI. For example, I can operate now. What I do is I start the agitator. If you look inside the bin, it's the agitator turning now. You can also operate the automatic depositing system from here. I'm going to switch it. Let me just switch back again. Switch it to auto there. And I do an auto start sequence on it. And now you can see first of all, the chocolate will be extracted through that into the pump, and then pressurized further through these pipes onto the depositing head. It's got an automatic cassette feeder for molds. That's what's moving back and forth now and feeding the molds back and forward through it. The next area is my little lab area. This is where I do most of my testing and product development. I've got a little Bmore coffee roaster. I roast coffee, cocoa beans and nuts on that, and I experiment with different flavor profiles. Initially when I bought this one in 2009, it had a very fixed mode of operation. It essentially had 4 profiles you could select, and you could roast according to that. But they've upgraded the roasters, and they came up with a different module that allows you to set the temperatures as well as the drum speed, and that allows you a lot more flexibility. So I'm using this extensively now to be able to experiment with different beans and different coffee beans and nuts as well. Then next to that, if I move over to that, there's a blender there. So I use the blender to reduce the cocoa beans after roasting, and to separate or to split the husk from the cocoa bean before I winnow it outside. I also use that once the cocoa or the nibs comes back, just to reduce it and make it into a paste, to make it easier to load into the small little melangers. These 2 small little melangers are recent additions. My old melanger I've still got here, but I bought that in 2009. It's a bit worn out, and it's a bit difficult to be able to refurbish that. So I'll still use that, but typically what happens now, if I experiment with that one, I get quite a grainy texture. So I recently bought these two small little melanger, so we'll be using them extensively. So most of the product development takes place here, and I still temper by hand. So once I'm finished with that, I will temper by hand and deposit it into molds. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to see further on the products that we will be creating in this garage, please subscribe to this channel and you'll be able to follow the journey from there on. Thank you.